Hello, my name is Fritz Johnson. I'm here to talk to you about this Anatomic putter hosel, which is simply a third component to the putter. I've separated the hosel simply to replace the double bend shaft that's currently in putters. Now, a lot of players on tour have manufacturers, they have tour vans, and these companies will change any club the way they want to. However, the daily player doesn't have the advantage of having a tour van or custom fitter there all the time to make these minor adjustments that they need. So what I've done is I've set aside a hosel that can go on a variety of clubs. Here's a putter head that I've purchased from eBay, and I took off the shaft. I put my hosel on here. I've set it so it meets all the USGA conforming standards, and then I can customize it to a player based upon their anatomy, shoulder width, ball position, and to a degree the type of stroke that they're making. So let's just take, for example, people's shoulders vary. One person might like the ball a little further back in the stance. One person might like to have it a little bit more forward in the stance. When you move it backwards and forwards, a player is setting up to the loft set by the manufacturers. Most manufacturers are going to set their loft at 3 to 4 degrees. Now, with that being said, there's always going to be a hop, a skip, and bounce before the true roll takes over. So by setting the loft, then we can minimize some of that, thus giving you a better roll, and it's smoother roll, gets on the ground sooner, more likely to hold the line. Also, by making this a third component, there'll be some companies that will eventually probably make it all as one component. I made it a separate component simply because if you mess up, a club fitter that bends it incorrectly, well, you can replace it. Versus, what if you bend it, it's all one component, and then it's messed up for good. You've spent too much money on a club, and now it's useless. Also, with the rules that are coming out starting 1/1/2016, the USGA is going to stop the anchoring of clubs. This is conforming to USGA rules so long as the fitter who puts it together is then setting it up to the standard rules. Most of this design is set so they've had very little effort to make it a conforming factor. So what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about ball position and the anatomy of the body. You've seen players on tour that actually rest the shaft along the forearm. And now, when we move the shaft forward, that's de-lofted the club. So the players that have done that have had to add loft to the club face. They've got their manufacturers that can do it. They have club fitters that work specifically on their equipment. So these factors that the daily player doesn't have. Now, we can take this club right here, which is another one I bought off of eBay, remove the shaft, put the hosel on there, which is designed to slip over the post right here, put in a new shaft, put on a new grip, and then we customize it based on where the player likes his ball position. Then have the player hit a few putts, see how the ball reacts when it's being struck to minimize some of the bounce and the skip. That's what we're trying to promote. So we can truly fit a club to a player just like the professionals do. And until now, we haven't had that opportunity. So, now also, might as well talk a little bit about the putting stroke. There are a couple golf swing theories out there, the golfing machine, some people go by biomechanics, and so I want to talk a little bit about that. I have worked with professionals who are master professionals of the golfing machine, which they emphasize a flat left wrist, bent right wrist, forearm on plane. So, and then also we talk about biomechanics, and I want to show you how this will relate to both these theories and every theory that is taught in relationship to golf. Well, if we talk about biomechanics, you have two bones that run through the body right here. Well, if you were to take this and now run it right between those two bones, it would rest right along the fat part of this muscle. It would be very braced in there. So now it's resting along the forearm. This will help anchor the flat left wrist and help steady the path when you make your stroke. A better path is going to help you save some strokes along the way. When we are able to put this along the flat left wrist, we're able to put the forearm out on plane to the shaft too, and therefore that will help steady the direction as well. I want to use this a lot in training juniors. That's one of the major things I'm working on, trying to promote this. So a friend of mine actually has developed this product right here. It's the extendable shaft. And now if I were to brace it at the front of the armpit, now we've made a splint out of the left arm. It's still resting along the forearm. We can take a traditional grip, we can go cross-handed, but when all of a sudden we take this and make our stroke, it'll force the shoulders to turn, steadies the path, steadies the wrist, there's no breakdown, and this does everything that we've been trying to accomplish in the teaching of putting for years. So for junior golfers, it means they've only got to simply learn what the correct rhythm is. That's where I want to take this. So you can also see in some of the videos that I have, I've got a senior player out there who is very wristy. When we put the training aid in his hands, it forces the shoulders. His stroke is immediately better. Some of the juniors that I have, and you'll see videos of them as well, it steadies their path. They have a lot of different angles, elbow angle broken out, wrist angle. The more angles that you have in your putting setup, the harder it is to maintain. So by taking this type of setup, you can become more consistent, a lot from the simple setup, but by setting the path, we can help get a better roll just by putting the loft correctly to you, the individual.